reverence or what you call it, and respect him. He's a man of such low character. He's written this and that and that, and he had flagged those pages with these stories I have just mentioned. So I pitied him. I told him, look here, you don't understand him. You don't know the sort of person he was. You are coming. So Maulana Rum should be read with very great caution. He is one of the holiest men that century ever produced, and one of the greatest Sufis of his time. So his stories always carry a certain message, which message he takes from the Holy Quran. The clothing of that message is a completely non-Holy Quranic clothing, but that was the society he was addressing. He wanted to attract such a society to the Holy Quran as was non-Quranic in its character. So he adopts a way of moving. What's that English idiom? Moving with, running with the hound and the other way around. Running with the hare and hunting with the hound or something. What's that?
That's what it is.
Yes, running with the hare and hunting with the hound or something like that. Some people have both the things to themselves. They run with the hare as if they are his companion, want to save him, but ultimately they shoot him down. They run with the hound, that is, they hunt him down. So this is the style of Maulana Rum. He runs with the hare of crime for a while, but with the intention that ultimately he is going to hound him down. So these stories belong to that part. This is why he says about himself, Masnavi ye, Manavi ye Maulavi, Hast Quran dar Hadith e Pahlavi. That it is that Zuban e Pahlavi. That in the language of Persian, the Masnavi of Maulana Rum is the Quran itself. Of course it is a very tall claim, we don't agree that it is the Quran, but what he meant to convey was that fundamentally his ideas and beliefs have been taken from the Holy Quran.
While on the subject, can I just ask, what does the term Sufi actually mean?
Sufi?
Yes.
That I already have discussed here. It's a term which is generally applied to the esoterics, those who do not believe on the surfaces of the messages. They want to delve deeper and go underground or swim underground in the subcurrents and translate the message quite differently from the apparent message. Some people among the Christians believe that Christianity as taught to the people ordinarily was not the Christianity which was taught by Jesus Christ. There was an undercurrent of Christian message which was conveyed to the very chosen few, and that undercurrent has been carried throughout the history, generation after generation, again to those chosen few. So they are the real Christians who are living unknown, undetected, unobserved by the rest of the world. And Sufis also, when they came into being, gradually on this I have already spoken, the historical background of Sufism, why they really came into being as sects and something. Like they're not one sect but many sects of Sufis. On that I have already spoken. But now the point is the Sufis also fundamentally believe that Sharia, when I'm talking of these Sufis, I'm talking of the Sufis of the later times. Those who are the founders of certain sects in Sufism, it was not their belief. Gradually, later on, the Sufism was understood to be a message of the Holy Quran which has been kept hidden by the mullah and by the people of the letter who only see the surfaces according to these Sufis, and the underground message is different. That message is not different in its essence, that is to create piety and holiness and nearness of God, but that message can be delivered and translated into action without going into the formalities of Sharia. This was the first important deviation they made from the right path. They thought holiness and piety, saintliness, they are all things to be pursued, of course, but not in the manner as mullah believes, to practice the Holy Quran in word and letter. They thought that spirit could be practiced without strictly following the form. But ultimately, they themselves landed into a form of a different nature altogether. They taught zikr in a certain way, to remember God not in the way Hazrat Rasul Kareem sallallahu alaihi wasallam did, by saying prayers and focusing his attention entirely upon the formal prayer as we know it, but they thought by remembering your master, whom you are following as the leader of the sect. For instance, this is the view of the one sect. They say tasawwur-e-shaykh, that is to say, they visualize what their peer or the master Sufi is like. You conceive his personality and try to lose yourself into his personality. Thereby you will lose yourself into God as if in a package deal, because your master as such is lost into God. So losing yourself into that master of yours, you will ultimately be delivered to God as a whole. This sort of concept is called tasawwur-e-shaykh. And the other one, that is called Naqshbandi, is slightly different, but fundamentally it's the same. They say you first conceive of your Sufi master, of his goodnesses, of his character, and then imprint him upon your heart. Once you have imprinted him upon your heart and your personality, that Naqsh is now there forever, indelible Naqsh. Naqsh means a print. So they are called Naqshbandis. Similarly, other Sufis tried to create paths other than the paths of Sharia to reach, according to their claim, the same goal. And they thought these were the undercurrents of Islam which already existed at the time of Hazrat Muhammad Mustafa sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And they were carried from that time on to our time by these esoteric scholars who right from the start understood that Islam really means this, and that is just a form for the commoners. They thought this form was necessary only for the beginners, the commoners, the common herd of people who don't understand finer things. So this Sufism is a sort of, according to their claim, an undercurrent of Islamic message without that form.
Thank you.
Please. Yes, please. Dar Sahib. Are you Mr. Bashir Dar?
Yes, Assalamu alaikum.
Assalamu alaikum.
Actually, I don't live here, so I don't see you very often. And my question is that according to modern psychology, which actually stems from the Vienna school of Freud, that if you suppress your tensions and emotions, the consequence is psychoneurosis, neurotic illnesses. And the Holy Quran says, وَالْقَاذِمِينَ الْغَيْظَ وَالْعَافِينَ عَنِ النَّاسِ. So how will you correlate these two ideologies?
Like this, I got it. Number one,